can't do it.
Okay.
We'll do it live.
Okay. No.
We'll do it live. Fuck it. Do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live. Fuck it.
Welcome in. It's Thursday, October 10th. We welcome you into another edition of the Daily Puck Drop. We are inside the PuckSports studios, of course, built by Lund Lumber Contractors. They got free deliveries for you. Everything from whole house packages to homeowner DIY packages. They've got the largest stock moldings in the Northwest. Reach out to them today. Old school service. They've been doing it since 1930. So they know what they're doing. They're at Limbach Lumber. Of course, you can reach out to them, limbachlumber.com, and you can go visit them. Again, that phone number, 206-782-3487. Our good friends there at Limbach Lumber. All right. It's a Thursday extravaganza coming up on the show today in about 20 minutes. We'll be joined by Mike Garafolo, NFL Network. We'll get the very latest from Mike on all things in the National Football League, including the news that he had on Uchenna Nwosu. So we'll get maybe an update there from Mike on the status of Nwosu. Again, remember when he had the report that he was placed on the injured reserve, he had also had noted that he's going to be out for a little bit longer there for Nwosu. So we'll get the very latest there from Mike on the latest with Uchenna Nwosu, his status. Also, we'll get an update on Abe Lucas. I got to figure out we need to figure out what's going on with Abe Lucas. And he has been adamant that he's going to come back and he's going to return. But, God, it just seems like we never, ever get an update at all on the status of Abe Lucas. And obviously that they could use Abe Lucas back. Some of the numbers, when you get to the offensive line, we'll jump into it in here in just a quick second, are just horrendous this year for Seattle. I think coming up a little bit later, we're going to get an opponent preview of the game tonight. Niners, Seahawks, Thursday night football. We got the throwbacks for the Seahawks. We got the throwbacks. Well, they're wearing the white throwbacks, I guess the Niners are tonight. John Lund from KNBR will join us coming up a little bit later in the program. We'll probably get to John around, I would say about 10:50 or so. And again, recorded with John earlier. So I just want to throw that out there. Just making sure everybody knows. So we caught up with John a little bit earlier today. And we'll get a full preview on the Niners, where they stand. He's got some interesting nuggets and information on Brock Purdy, the wide receivers. When you listen to Lund today, you're going to think, well, first of all, Jim's going to take $100 off me because the Seahawks will roll the Niners. But God, does he really make it seem like it's a real craptastic showdown there in San Francisco. It doesn't sound good. They're dealing with injuries. Deebo Samuel's having a bad year. Brandon Ayuk still hasn't done anything yet. Of course, Chris McCaffrey's out. The thought process down there, and it really seems like the thought process down there is that he's like McCaffrey's not going to play. And John had a good point too. You don't, and we talked about this, you don't go to Germany. It's never good when an athlete goes to Germany to get looked at by anyone. That's just not, it's not good news. Not good news at all there for Christian McCaffrey. So we'll get a full breakdown from John Lund coming up at around 10:50. Lund and I used to work together way back in the day, right when I was out of college, like 2001. We worked together in Portland at 910 The Fan. Of course, that's we worked there with Ian. Ian came on, Berness, people don't know, came on after John had left. John and Ian had worked together in Salt Lake City. So I've known John for a very, very long time. He's one of the best in the business. He hosts a show down there, KNBR, and then does the 49ers pre and post game show down there. So we'll get the very latest there again from John Lund coming up around 10:50. And then we got a special guest today on Hey What the Puck. We've never had a guest for Hey What the Puck. But our good friend Andy Bunker is going to step on by. And Bunker, of course, hosts a show in Atlanta, 92.9 The Game down there. Andy used to be an intern at KJR, ended up working at Cairo, spent some time in Boston. and then landed there in Atlanta. And Andy's going to come on to talk about a fundraiser that he has, that he and his wife have, the Helene Assist. This was in response to the first hurricane that just happened a few weeks ago. That really it ravaged all parts of the South, but ravaged certainly parts of the Carolinas. His wife is from North Carolina, and specifically Haywood County, and it destroyed that county, destroyed the schools there. So he and his wife came up with a fundraiser to raise about $10,000 to help out the county. It's like, hey, would you mind me coming on to promote it? Of course, we'll have you on. The QR code, which normally would take you to Limback Lumber or whatever our sponsors are, that QR code that's on your screen for the viewers, those listening on the Puck Sports mobile app, you don't see it. You can go back to the stream to view it, and you can click on it, or I can give you the website. You just go to supportnow.org / the Helene Assist. We'll tweet it out there as well, but you can just click on that QR code and you can donate right away. They had a goal of about $10,000. They've reached that, but again, we can support them even more. It's in support again of the Haywood Schools Foundation that just basically had their entire community, schools ruined because of that hurricane. And then a few weeks later, here comes another one. But it sounds like it wasn't as bad, Milton, as everyone thought. And I don't think it affected anywhere in the Carolinas. But Andy's going to join us coming up at the end of the show on Hey What the Puck. And we can, we got an opponent preview next week because they're playing Atlanta. So we'll get a preview on the Falcons and, of course, his beloved Huskies. And then maybe a thought or two. He's in SEC country. He can talk about Alabama being Georgia and then watching Alabama lose the next week to Vanderbilt. Now they're losing their minds down there. We got callers calling up Feinbaum Show wanting DeBoer out. You've got a column that was written today. I don't think it's the Atlanta. I think it's the online version of the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. I may be correct on this one. If I'm not, don't hold me accountable. But where there was it's tongue in cheek. But they wrote a column on DeBoer. A topic down there is DeBoer dresses. He's a sloppy dresser on the sideline, and fans have had it with him on the sideline of how he dresses. That's how bad things are getting down there for Kalen DeBoer. It's a funny ass column though. God, it's good. He calls him, he just keeps calling him. He's referencing Kalen DeBoer as like Cousin Eddie. So he calls him Cousin Kalen. It's really good. It's a really good one. But we got Thursday night football tonight. Seahawks and 49ers gearing up. Both squads make an argument to must win. I mean, that's certainly kind of the conversation of the Niners down there. The Niners are talking about it, and the Niners are treating this as it is a must win. That they need to win this football game. And if they don't win it, then all hell is going to break loose. But and we bring this up with Lund, and you'll hear it later in the show, is you could start putting too much emphasis on just one football game. And that could be the problem here with San Francisco. They tried to walk it back a little bit, by the way. It's like, no. It's not a must win. We're not trying to say it's a must win, but it's real pivotal. It's a key game. I mean, the reality is this. I mean, whoever loses this one you're winless in the conference. They're winless in the division. You've got to pull off a victory here. One of these two teams got to pull off a victory, obviously. Hey, thanks, Tips. I tuned in to hear this guy say one of these two teams got to pull off a win. But, I mean, it's not going to knock them out of the postseason, not going to knock them out of the playoffs, but hell, it's going to be an uphill climb for sure for one of these teams if they don't win tonight. I mean, San Francisco comes in having dominated the series of late, having won 5 straight. They have seemed to have an answer for Seattle every time they've played. They've had an answer for DK Metcalf in the last few games. Shavarius Ward, when he's been matched up on DK, is had his way with him. Now, Ward is not healthy. He's dealing with an ankle injury. DK Metcalf has had a terrific start of the football season for him. But can they get him more involved in the game? And as we have discussed this week with DK, whether it's with the Ground Puck podcast that we do on Mondays with Tim Booth and Curtis Crabtree, or Rob Staton this week on SeahawksDraftBlog.com, is, like DK, there's always one play or one incident with DK every week, it seems like. Whether it's a fumble, whether it's a key penalty, it's just something that prevents him. A knucklehead play. And can he eliminate, a knucklehead play tonight against San Francisco? I mean, the game plan is what the game plan's going to be for the Niners. They talk about it. They try to get under his skin, and they will try everything that they can to get him to lose his cool. And that will be something that will be one of the key storylines to watch tonight. Is how do they get under his skin? How much do they bait him into reacting? Whether it's a late shove, you watch early in the game, there's going to be some late shove. There's going to be something where they want to throw him off. And they may be willing to take a penalty just so he reacts. So then he gets a penalty or gets thrown out. I think it's a huge game for DK, just in terms of not just production on the field, because he hasn't had these great games, at least in the regular season. The playoff game a few years ago, he was good. But he's got to get this offense going, and this offense got to have a bounce back after that Giants game. And I know all the emphasis is going to be on, hey, they got to establish Kenny Walker. They've been talking about it all week. You don't want to, as a play caller, I would assume for Ryan Grubb, paralyze yourself so much that you want to get this running game going that you do start avoiding two of your best playmakers, your best playmaker being DK, and then your other great playmaker being JSN. You don't want to turn your back on those two. And then you throw Lockett in there. And again, we've talked about this a lot. They've got three of the best wide receiving options in the National Football League. So I know they've been saying that all week, and I know that's been a theme all week long for these guys, is that they're going to run. But just something tells me they're going to come out, whether they take a deep shot right away, the first play from scrimmage or whatever. Just something tells me tonight that maybe they don't come out like guns a-blazing on the ground, because San Francisco is going to expect it. And they change things up defensively? They try to load the box. They dare Seattle to throw. And one thing to keep in mind is that San Francisco has been vulnerable in the passing game, that they will be vulnerable in giving up plays, and especially in coverage. And their secondary is banged up. It really is one of these games in which you're like, yeah, the thought process is to run the ball. Because you didn't do it last week. But they are right now vulnerable in defending the pass. Maybe you attack them in the pass game. So they could be kind of playing a game here right now of how public they've been about how they want to establish Kenny Walker. At the end of the day tonight, we're not going to look at the box score tonight, and Ken Walker's not going to finish with 5 carries. But I also don't know if they're just going to, right out of the chute, going to be pounding the ball incessantly there with Kenny Walker, because their offensive line is an issue. And has been an issue, all season long for these guys. I'd mentioned it before. If you look at the latest PFF rankings for these guys, I mean, Stone Forsythe is the 74th rated tackle out of 78. Anthony Bradford is the 69th ranked guard at 70. 69 there for old Anthony Bradford. It's terrible. He's second worst guard in football. Connor Williams, 22 out of 35. Laken Tomlinson, I guess he's better than I thought. Tomlinson is the 35 or the 37th ranked guard there in the NFL. I actually thought he'd be worse than that, to be honest with you. I really did. I thought he would be worse than those numbers. Charles Cross is the only guy that's been good. Charles Cross is ranked 7th right now. They have struggled. I mean, they've struggled in all aspects to whether to run the ball, to pass the ball. There is no element of them up front that is good. None of it. And it's a talent issue. It's something that Scott Huff, I don't think, can just completely on his own fix, because I don't know how you fix it. How do you fix not having talent? You've got talent with Cross. Tomlinson has been, I guess, okay. Connor Williams is not healthy. Anthony Bradford is just not good. But the problem with Anthony Bradford is, look at it. Anthony Bradford is ranked 69th. You think of that for a second. Christian Haynes can't beat him out. That's how bad Christian Haynes has been this year. And I know rookies are going to struggle on the offensive line, but he can't beat out Anthony Bradford. If he doesn't turn around, he's shaping up to be one of the, early on. You don't want to call it a bust yet. We're talking about 5 games into the season, but man, oh man. I just didn't think Christian Haynes, I thought Christian Haynes would win the battle coming out of camp, and that in fact, it really wouldn't have been a battle, that he just would have taken the job because he was just highly regarded and he looked the part. But based on him, and then you look at the guy that they drafted last year in Oluwatimi, who's not even active, not even a factor on the team, is Oluwatimi. So they've got issues up front defensively on their defensive line. They're a little thin there. They've got health issues all around. I mean, they haven't had McCaffrey, so that doesn't really count. But again, they've got Bosa on the outside. They have been a thorn in your side. Mike McDonald did have a great game against these guys last year, but also Mike McDonald doesn't have the talent that he had when he was with Baltimore. The public, and Jim likes this, and others like this, TroyWins.com likes this as well. The public does love San Francisco. So when you hear those two guys talk, anytime the public likes someone, they hate them because then they like to go against the public. But betting-wise tonight, 85% of the bets are going on the money line for San Francisco. 77% of the bets made tonight are going on San Francisco and the spread, which is, I want to say, I think still 3.5. So 77% of the money going on San Francisco minus 3.5. The total, here's a fun one for you tonight if you want to bet, if you can bet on this one. Over under tonight on Ken Walker rushing yards, it's 85.5. 85.5 tonight for Ken Walker. Oh, which way would I go? I'll say just under. I think just under. Not too far under, though. He'll be like around 80-ish. But I don't know. I don't think he's going to get quite 85 and a half. But again, Ken Walker, if you look at his numbers, he's averaging 5.5 yards a carry, 9th best in the league. And that's why I think it's been so maddening for them not to lean on him a little bit more. He's been out a couple games, so again, his carries and yards are going to look less. But 5.5 yards a carry. Goodness, man. Just hammer him. Also, before we get to Garafolo, another gambling perspective for you Seahawks fans out there. Seahawks right now 1-4 against the spread, tied for the worst mark in the NFL. But overs involving the Seahawks 4-1. And then another quick nugget. Brock Purdy has been favored in every one of his 26 regular season starts. It's the longest streak to start a career in the Super Bowl era. 7-1 against the spread as a favorite of less than 4 points. That comes from the one and only Ben Fox. We love Ben Fox. Check out, used to be at ESPN, used to be at VSiN, and now Ben is doing his own gambling website on Substack. You can follow him and subscribe to Ben. BFox22, and that's FAWKES. Ben Fox 22. He's one of the best. He's absolutely one of the best. And so you look at those numbers, it would favor Niners. The public thinks the Niners are going to win. Both teams are banged up. I think it's got a potential to be a real craptastic game like most Thursday night games are, but we shall see. Let's get a National Football League perspective. He joins us every single Thursday. Ladies and gentlemen, from the NFL.
I didn't know warning.
I told you. I said, I'm coming now. Ready? Question mark.
And I replied to you. You see my reply?
Yeah, that's what she said. Not funny. You want me to give you some time to finish your breakfast?
No, this is a working lunch.
It's a working. Come on, I gotta mute you. Can you? Can't listen to you eat your food. It's terrible. And I like how I said breakfast. It's 1:20 where you're at, like an idiot.
Yeah, there's tuna salad. The only fish I eat for breakfast is lox.
Yeah, right. I love a good launch. Mike Garafolo joins us as we talk all things NFL. Garafolo joins us every single Thursday. It's brought to you by Hartley and Hartley Insurance. Your trusted family-owned insurance experts in the Puget Sound area since 1978. Honesty, fairness, integrity. You can contact Jamie Hartley, 253-565-8700. Also, Zogs on Fox Island, kiddos. Perfect spot, cold beer, hang out with friends, catch the game, enjoy the Northwest fall. They're at Zogs on Fox Island.
You should tell Bridget Condon she's covering the game for us.
Yeah, that's
although
right.
She'll be busy, she can't hit Zogs. Well, if she doesn't have to stay for she'll have to stay for post game. Never mind. Just tell her to stay another day and go to Zogs.
Okay, I will do. Love Bridget. Does great work. Okay, what was that?
That was me trying to stifle a burp.
Oh, what's we got to get one of the appearances from the kids today?
No, they're not home.
Oh, that's good.
They're not home, which is funny because we did an interview with Cameron Bynum from the Vikings yesterday.
Yeah.
The guy that did the Parent Trap thing that I didn't recognize live, but apparently was a big thing. And he's like, well, he was at the beach. And we're like, he's in Hawaii on the bye week. We're like, why didn't you just do it on the beach? He goes, there's kids running around. I was like, there's kids running around here, dude. Like, I'm in my house. They're, So, no, the door's open. Vivian's not here. Carmen's in school. We should be good.
Damn it. Let's jump right into it. You had the report there on Uchenna Nwosu going on the IR. Then you told me, hey, expect it to be longer than the 4 weeks, but not season ending. Mike McDonald said that yesterday. It's going to be longer than the 4 weeks. Is there a chance that he could not come back at all this year?
I don't know. I mean, everything I was, let me mute this. Sorry. Everything I was told was that it's in the area of 6 to 10 weeks. So is there a chance? I don't know if there's a setback. I don't understand the full injury, some kind of deep contusion or something. I don't quote me on that. There's some kind of something. But I don't know if this is the kind of thing where you can have a setback. Like a lot of times if it's a hamstring or quad tendon thing, which I think you're going to ask me about coming up here with another player. A lot of times like something like that can take a little bit longer to come back from. I don't know this one. I don't know enough. I was told it was somewhere within 6 to 10. So you hope it's on the early side of that.
Yeah. It's unfortunate for him. I mean, I don't think you call him injury prone because he's just had some of these freak injuries. They're not like hamstrings and soft tissue injuries, but man, he's been snake bitten with since coming over here. He's had the 1 year and then he got paid and good for him. But since then it's
it's not like
injury. It's been injuries for him.
He's not like he's checking out. It's not like he's
right.
Ooh, I felt a little something there. No, it's been some significant, serious stuff, and it's a shame because he's a heck of a player and he's a big part of what they want to do on defense.
He is, and they could use him, right? I mean, that's one of the storylines so far in the beginning of the season, Mike. I think there was a lot of people that once McDonald got hired, and again, I don't think anyone here is panicking, but they thought, well, he's going to make an instant fix to this defense, and I think so far during 5 games they haven't done that.
No, I mean early on it was the question of who they were playing, right? Now it's into the thick of their schedule, and I think that they were kind of. Anytime you win a game in the NFL, you're like, we won a game in the NFL. It's hard to do, and I get that, I do, but there is an element of who your schedule is and who you're playing, and maybe early on starting to get a feel of things and feeling like you're in a groove and you can stack up with anybody. And now, maybe realizing that this is going to be a battle for 17 weeks here in the NFL, which is not to say that Mike McDonald is foreign to the NFL. He's certainly been around and in high ranking positions other than head coaching. So yeah, this will be an interesting one though. On a short week, divisional opponent who's not playing particularly well, who's been extremely vulnerable. I can't believe that this is the same team we saw opening night against the Jets that just completely dominated for 90% of that game. And if they have a kicker the other day and they don't have to go for it on 4th and 23 or whatever it was, and they kick a field goal and maybe everything's completely different. I get all that. I do. But it's going to be interesting.
Why do you think they've struggled so much? I mean, I know they've got injuries and everyone's got injuries, but I mean, you've got Deebo Samuel not playing up to his capability. He doesn't even look like the same player anymore.
Yeah.
And these guys are getting older. Brandon Ayuk hasn't really had the season yet. Maybe it was the off season and the training camp stuff. But what has led to them? I mean, the only thing that comes to my mind here, Mike, is that are they feeling the pressure to get it done this year, and is that causing some of these issues?
So in Philly last year, you had the opposite. You had the team that. Because Super Bowl hangover. See, Super Bowl hangover always to me feels like more of a thing for the team that lost than the team that won. Mm-hmm. So you've got that potentially, and in Philly last year they got off to a great start, and I was like, no Super Bowl hangover, and then they stumbled down the stretch. And in talking to folks this offseason down there, their thing was it was the Super Bowl hangover, and I go, that doesn't make any sense. You were 11-1 or whatever you were to start the season. And they're like, yeah, but it's there. It's there the whole year. It hangs over you. Like, you understand having been as close as you were, and you had a really great season, but yet you feel so terribly because you lost that last game. And it colors everything that you kind of do. So I think there's a little bit of that. Sometimes it hits early, sometimes it hits late, I guess. So I think there's a little bit of that combined with the injuries, combined with, I think teams are starting to catch up because more people are running what Kyle Shanahan has been doing around the league. And I think defenses in the end do adjust, and look, the Dolphins are struggling too. I understand that they've got that Tua is it, but even, pre-Tua injury, it didn't look the same. I think a lot of defenses are starting to catch on to some of this stuff. So, it's a little bit of a bunch of factors at play, I think.
Do you find them in a similar scenario, the Niners, is where maybe Seattle was after the second Super Bowl, because you've paid so many guys so much money, especially defensive guys. Everyone's getting a little bit older, and now you've got to pay the quarterback. They have to pay the quarterback next season, and he's going to make, we've talked about this before, he's going to make $60+ million a year.
Yeah.
And these teams are hamstrung by quarterback play. They need to have a quarterback. Do you see parallels with them in Seattle?
I see parallels with a bunch of teams that get out of that window. When you've got the rookie quarterback that allows you to do things a certain way. And I would say the team that avoided that was the Chiefs, but because Patrick Mahomes' contract was structured in a way where they didn't get walloped up front on that deal the way that other teams have done. Go back to the Eagles, Jalen Hurts, and which now is still a $51 million deal, something like that. And now compared to the fact that we're into the 60s, it's like, whoa, all right. So not that it's a bargain, because he's got to step up his play. He's got to play better. But the Eagles approach before that contract versus after that contract, it changes how you can do things. So yeah, they're going to be in that world coming up here. It's a good problem to have. But they're going to have to say goodbye to some folks. I just don't see, like, the McCaffrey thing obviously was a big anvil dropped on the beginning part of their season, right? That's another factor that I didn't mention. He went from being questionable week 1 to out for whatever. We're in this week 6
to go into Germany, man. And this, anytime an athlete gets on a flight to Germany, it's just not good.
No,
not good.
No, that's a far trip when there are really good doctors and medical approaches available here.
Yeah, but like the stuff that we hear in the States, we just don't approve. So I think most people knew the second he jumped on that and you heard that he's going to Germany, it was gonna be bad news. I mean, I would assume there's a potential he doesn't see the field again this year.
I think we're in that, that's apparently the hope is that that's not going to be the case. And he's working his way back. If you're asking me, I would say more likely he is back this season, right. But it's a non-0% chance that we're talking about here.
Yeah. Abe Lucas, we have talked about it. I feel like every week I ask you about Abe Lucas. I love Abe Lucas. He's a Coug, so I love him even more. And he's a hell of a football player. And I know that he wants to get back on the football field. Yeah. And he's got videos putting out there that he's working out, doing this and doing that. And the one thing you don't want, and especially I go back to last year when I think it was Carroll, I think he's the one who mentioned, the scary C word. Well, it could be chronic. a knee issue. Where are we at? What is the latest with the Seahawks right tackle, Abe Lucas?
My understanding is his practice window. Now, there's a difference between, we saw this yesterday with Tyson Campbell with the Jaguars when people said, oh, he's back. No. It's a practice window of 21 days to get yourself into game shape when you're coming off of these lists, whether it's PUP or NFI or whatever. My understanding is his practice window should be activated here in the next couple of weeks. So add it all together. If you use the entire window, if it's 21 days plus a couple of weeks till that 21, it could still be, a couple of weeks before he is back and ready to go. But they are taking the slow approach with him to make sure that he is ready to rock. And there's no setbacks and there's nothing in that regard.
Okay.
Because he was the quad or the quad tendon. Yeah. Quad tendon, right?
Yeah.
No,
I can't remember for his. I can't even. No, it's a knee issue with him. He's had
the knee into
the.
But the knee into the quad. It was a quad tendon. Am I remembering this correctly? I should. You've asked me enough about it.
Yeah. That's why I want you to make me feel better about Abe Lucas. I want him to come back. They desperately need him, and their offensive line is just a disaster. I mean, they don't have anybody. Charles Cross has been like the only good one, and that's about it. Other than that, it's just been Connor Williams is not healthy. Anthony Bradford, they drafted a couple of years ago, is not good. They're starting Stone Forsythe up right tackle. He's the third string right tackle. I mean, it's It's a great name.
Yeah.
It's a porn name. That's what I like about it.
Well, I don't know about that.
Stone Forsythe.
Stone Forsythe?
Yeah.
Well, if you grew up on, there's a Forsythe Road where we go down the shore. So if maybe the dog's name was Stone and Forsythe was the street, right? Isn't that how it works?
Yeah. No. What is it? It's your.
I don't know.
Hold on. It's your middle. No, it's your middle name. It's your middle name and the street you grew up on.
So maybe he grew up on Forsythe. Meanwhile, Jarek Reed, another guy that you got a thumbs up. Jarek Reed, another guy whose practice window should be opening up here. I know they liked him on special teams last year. Thought he did a fantastic job. I know that's not sexy, but a key part of what they do, and they expect him back, from what I gather.
All right, mine is Andrew Fairwood. That's a good one.
What is it? Middle name?
It's middle name and the street you grew up on.
So I'm Francis Cleveland.
That's unbelievable. That is sensational. I like that one, Francis Cleveland. Yeah,
Francis Cleveland sounds like a Civil War. I don't know if he'd be a general, but he'd be something there.
Yeah, general. Maybe I don't know why I got Francis Ford Coppola in my head. Maybe a director, like an
because I'm Italian, and you're
indie film director.
Generalizing.
Francis Cleveland. Speaking of not speaking of the Eagles.
Speaking of Italians.
Speaking of Italians, let's talk about Philadelphia. Boy, he didn't like the. Why am I blanking on the head coach?
Sirianni. That's why I said. Speaking of Italian.
God, he sure didn't like the question about his job security.
Who does? Nobody ever asked me that,
No, everybody would react the same way. How do you feel about maybe your job being on the line? Oh, I feel great. Can't wait to hopefully get fired. But is his job on the line?
If they don't reach, I mean, Jeffrey Lurie's got incredibly high expectations. We saw it with Doug Peterson, who I think if Doug Peterson and the Jaguars had done that in Philly, and like the way that things went last year, I think like that would have been, they would have, the way that they stumbled down the stretch, which the Eagles did as well, but it was within a season of going to the Super Bowl. Which is why when that came up last year, there was incredible pushback from down there. People are like, "Are you kidding me? We just went to the Super." I'm like, "Listen, man," and I don't know that it was 100% safe. I mean, certainly they redid the coaching staff there, and I think that's part of it. In Jeffrey Lurie's mind was like, "Okay, you got your coordinators, right? You wanted Vic Fangio the year before, you finally got him." And now you got yourself a guy in Kellen Moore who's a break from the tree here after we lost Shane Steichen to becoming a head coach 2 years ago. So I think he looks at it and says, all right, this is what you expected that you needed, and the expectations were going to be raised. So it's time to meet them. So we'll see.
Can we is it too early to